We go to public comment, and we could just line up at the microphone.
Okay, I'll begin. That's 2 minutes, right?
Yep. Anybody have a watch that could time? I ask for a watch, and everybody takes out their cell phone.
Okay, I've been a long time WBAI listener. I realize the importance of it. Just want to point out with what's going on. Is it on? Yes. Sure. I'll hold it a little closer. What's going on in the Middle East is another reminder of how important WBAI is. When the military goes into a country to destabilize it, the first things they knock out are the communication systems. Then they go after harassing reporters. And the idea is to keep people ignorant so that they can operate and do whatever their mission is without any difficulty. So WBAI is critical. America is going through the times of high unemployment and mortgage foreclosures and repression. We still haven't gotten our habeas corpus back or a lot of other freedoms that were taken away. And there will be popular uprisings at the rate we're going if the unemployment remains as it is. And WBAI is needed more than ever. So I just want to say that I listen to it quite a bit, and that it's rare that when I turn it on, I don't come away feeling that my time was worthwhile, that I learned something. The programming, we had 2 or 3 months ago, a number of programmers who lost their programs as changes in the lineup were made. People who were shifted to slots that they were unhappy with, but of course somebody was in that slot before them, and we can't all have our ideal time. So looking at the station now with the changes, we still have wonderful Earl Caldwell, Sheldon Walton, Mimi Rosenberg, Kathy Davis, Jose Santiago, and now we have Al Jazeera to give a completely different viewpoint than any other...
5 seconds.
I'm sorry?
5 seconds.
Than any other station that I know of has in America. So we have to hold on to WBAI. We have to work together as best we can. And thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
I just have to take a few more minutes to comment on my beloved friend and comrade in the struggle, Kamal Khalfani. His death is a great loss to people in the struggle, to people who believe in righteousness, and it was just absolutely atrocious the way WBAI under the coup management treated him. It was not the WBAI Bernard White and Samori Marksman, but the way he was treated, it was just outrageous. And there were many people on this board at that meeting who witnessed it, who witnessed him being removed because he condemned the actions of a board member that had pulled a chair from under somebody. It was Seth Goldberg. And LaVon Williams came in there, didn't care about the truth, knew what had happened, and banned him anyway. He couldn't even set foot in the station. And I wrote something earlier this week. I stand by it because I don't understand how people can claim to have respect for somebody's death when they showed him none in his life. And I even remember Carolyn Birdie, you were at that meeting yelling and screaming things at him, and he couldn't even get the board. You couldn't even get a motion to at least say what's going on is wrong and to re-examine, to look at these bannings. We talk about repression, but if you say anything against the current management at all at WBAI, you will be banned. And he couldn't even set foot in the station. They wouldn't even return his phone calls. There were several people who sat in the position of general manager who ignored him. And the Berthold Rhymes, I'll see him when he's here. I said exactly what I said because I don't want to be like Berthold. Given the choice to be like Berthold, somebody who's turned his back on his community, or Kamal Khalfani, I'll be like Kamal any day of the week.
Tell her to fuck herself 3 times.
This is supposed to be an agenda of what's on the meeting. This is actually a billboard. Everybody has this picture of this fool on the back here that's actually ruining the station.
Everybody doesn't know.
okay? Number two, most of you probably don't know whose birthday last Friday was. And the shameful thing that's happened to BAI and where the changes are is that in the wee hours of the morning, this city was voting to close prominent schools with people with certain names that are important to communities. And it wasn't on the news at BAI. It wasn't on in the morning because you have people who are politically inept, or you had preemptions where you were regurgitating Gary Null. This is last Friday. Think hard. Most of you in here probably got a college degree, but you can't figure out whose birthday it was. And you talked about isms and made light of that, but you have no inclusion in your mind whose birthday that was. Well, it was Rosa Parks' birthday all day Friday. So in the wee hours in the morning, the billionaire Prince of Darkness and his henchmen were voting to close schools to black and brown people in this city, and nothing was said on BAI. I couldn't say anything Thursday because I was preempted. But other people were not inclusive of these communities or what's really going on in this city. And that's shameful. The other piece is, Saturday I was at an event where there were national event for track and field. Most of those coaches are educators, trying to let people know about BAI and what you can listen to, because they're up and down on the East Coast. They don't have anything like this. But if they come in and try to tune in, they can't hear anything because the preemptions are snake oil and not what BAI is really about.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, then, is anybody else going to speak? I don't know why I even came tonight, but because nobody's electing me. Nobody wants me, and I don't like a lot of things that are going on. And even the people I stood up for, like Gary Null, I tried my best for him. I tried my best for Robert Knight. I've tried my best for WBAI. I came tonight with this thing, and by the way, Kamal Kalfani, I like the man. I know he said something about jewelry, and that means that I can understand that he was just trying to figure things out, but it made it look like he might be a racist. I think he was a wonderful guy. He had some physical problem. He had some physical problem, but he allowed me to speak on his program, and he had a good program, Under the Learning Tree, wonderful title. He was learning, so I was learning, and so forth. And he had Bob Avakian's people on, the Revolutionary Communist Party. So I think that's terrific. Now, this is about Bob Fass. When Abby Hoffman called him and said, I'd like to be on your program with Paul Krasner, Bob Fass said, why, you don't even have a good radio voice. Now, later on, Bob Fass was trying to fundraise during the day. It was kind of the same idea of taking people at night and putting them at the daytime. And he admitted when he was trying to keep me off the radio, I called in because he said, I don't know if anybody on the daytime listenership.
10 seconds.
What are you smiling about? You know, I hate this company here. I'll tell you something. A person can join BAI 1 second before the final minute and have a vote, and I've been with the station for 50 years.
Oh, Monroe.
Monroe, thanks. Your time is up.
Yeah, my time is up. I'll probably be dead, and I don't want any of you coming to my funeral.
I'm sure Sydney, never mind.
I just want to respond to some of the things was said. Of course, Rosa
Is there,
Parks.
hold on a second, Bob. Is there anybody else who hasn't spoken who wants to speak? Go ahead.
course, WBAI should commemorate Rosa Parks and 1,000 other national treasures, the few that this country has produced. But at the same time, those who say that they're trying to NPRize WBAI, that they're trying to de-radicalize it, that's a lot of baloney. The SOA has access to WBAI whenever they want it. Friends of Mamiya, New York has access to WBAI whenever they want it. Lynn Stewart and her husband, who was just met at the studio the other day, has access to WBAI. Leonard Peltier is mentioned regularly. So the station has only 168 hours. It has many groups who are competing to get the program director or the manager's attention, and with issues that really need to be heard. So we have to give it a little breathing room, okay? You can't expect every hour of the 168 to be your favorite. One of the things that has to be done, and is it Daniel over there? Did I catch? I don't know you, and yes. But you said something about you introduced an issue on the programming at the station. You're absolutely right. Alex Steinberg here has been the chair of the programming committee of the LSB for a couple of years. He came up with a number of program recommendations to, in some way, involve the listeners and staff in a program council or whatever, but it has to be an orderly mechanism. Obviously, you don't want to undercut everything that managers do, regardless of who they are, or they have, they're responsible, and you can't just have every listener coming in and saying what they want. But you're right. When you're here a while, and if you join the programming committee, give your ideas on how that can be done in an orderly way. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Okay, seeing not, we'll move on to the agenda. So what I'm going to do is, a year ago in February, actually exactly a year ago, I wrote a report for the LSB called "When is the Time to Sound the Alarm?" And that report compiled information on the extremely low pledge fulfillment rates at WBAI. I included suggestions that a number of LSB and other members of the WBAI had made for how to immediately begin improving pledge fulfillment rates if BAI and Pacifica are to survive, and we're still very tenuous. Some of the suggestions in that report have begun to be implemented by the new management. Consequently, the pledge fulfillment rate, the percent of people who pay for pledges they make, has improved, as has premiums fulfillment, which is the rate at which BAI sends premiums out to people who have fulfilled their pledges by sending in money or having it automatically extracted from their credit card. The premiums fulfillment rate should be 100%. That is, everyone who has sent in funds for a premium should receive their premiums, but we're still short of that goal. Which Bertold was here now so we could engage in this talk. The two types of fulfillment are intertwined, and many people simply stop pledging to the station when the premiums for which they were paid were never sent. However, since Bertold has become IGM and then GM, he's implemented several of the suggestions presented in the report that was circulated last year, and the pledge fulfillment rate has improved from around 66% to 73%, which is the main reason why the station has not gone into insolvency. That 7% improvement under Bertold, under his tenure, thus far equates to around $110,000 more than we would have had the rates remained where they had been. Still, the rate is not high enough to sustain the station, let alone to begin to pay back the $1.5 million that we owe to Pacifica for central services, which pays for, among other things, Democracy Now! Out of those funds. Unless we either get the pledge fulfillment rate up to around 80 or 81%, or greatly increase the membership by 25 to 30%, both would be desirable, but If we do either one of those, according to figures for the past year, unless we do that, the station will remain unable to sustain itself and may bankrupt itself and the entire network. Several suggestions have been made for how to reach both of those goals over the years, but they've not been taken up by management previously or currently. Bertold Reimers has compiled a rather thick book, regularly updated, listing the contact information for those people who have pledged funds but who have not fulfilled their pledges. Which is a new thing. It's the first time that anybody has done that I know of at the station. Since the fall of 2009, approximately 10,000 people called in to make pledges that they never fulfilled. Adding up those unpaid pledges since the fall of 2009 fund drive, there's approximately $1 million that has been pledged, but which remains uncollected. Around $800,000 per year, for the past year anyway, that's been left on the table. I added up the different figures on that to get that. So while Bertold had begun to assign members of the local station board and other volunteers and staff to contact the delinquent pledgers, this effort has been haphazard, partly due to management having to pay attention first to other matters, and partly due to the shortage of LSB members and volunteers. We can and must remedy that now. So I'm asking everybody to please volunteer. Bertold reports that the station desperately needs volunteers to spend a few hours each evening going to the station and making a few phone calls to delinquent pledgers. The key times are between 6:30 and 9 p.m. Anyone can volunteer to do this. You don't have to be on the LSB. Experience shows that the callers pick up at least a couple of pledges each evening. If things were structured differently, as a number of us have put forth, we'd pick up a lot more than that, but even so, a few $100s each, with some netting $1,000 or $2,000 per evening in that time slot. So BAI needs volunteers to do this one night per month or so, at least. So I'm asking to make a motion, since one of the tasks of the LSB is to ensure the ensure the financial sustainability of the station. To that end, I'd like to make a motion that the LSB resolves.
You can't make a motion.
Well, I'll read it and then we can.
You can give
right.
us the chair and make
right.
the motion that way.
To that end, the LSB resolves that each member of the board shall volunteer to make phone calls to delinquent pledgers for at least 2 hours per month, under the direction of the station manager, and will report on their efforts to the LSB public listserv in an attempt to assess the success of this project and to hopefully inspire others to do the same. So I'd like to make that as a motion. I would like somebody else to make that as a motion.
If you'll accept the motion, I'll offer it just the way you wrote it.
Okay, say.
If you'll accept it, I'll offer it just the way you wrote it.
Okay, please do so. Thank you, Carolyn. Yes.
Can you ask questions?
Yes. And that's all. That's my report. And for now, the other part of the report the second report had to do with how to expand the membership, but I'm not going to do that today. That was a report that we did a few months ago, and this is, it's long overdue. Yeah.
Is it possible to be volunteer and do that from home like myself? I live far from here. I cannot come to the city for 2-3 hours and do that, but I am able and willing to do that from home. So if I'm provided a list, I would do that and give it back. Of course, I'm sure I have to sign an affidavit that I would not share this with anybody, do all of that. We have to do that. But maybe we can expand.
Well, that would be a separate...
To do volunteer from this, long distance volunteering.
Right, that would be a separate... you're asking me a question.
That's a question.
Right. That would be a separate item. Right now, there's no structure to do that, partly because when you call from your home phone and you call somebody and WBAI doesn't come up, they want to, well, who is this person? How do I know, how do I know she's legit? How do I know she's from the station?
I understand that, but I would not be collecting the money. I would be encouraging them, and I would say, I'm a volunteer for BAI.
You'd be getting credit card numbers. You'd be,
I should, yeah, okay.
It's tricky, so maybe that could be worked out.
Maybe they can technologically do it, sure.
Just on that,
Well, I had Russell.
Just just a point of information.
Okay.
There is software available that can let your can let a phone on a computer look.
Sorry, it's not a point of information.
A point of information is a question. Sorry, Alex. Russell.
Chair,
You could be on the, yeah.
I just want to say that, you know, I just object to the language. We don't know what reason people might not have fulfilled their pledges. So it just feels bad to call people delinquent and use language like that when we don't know what the reason is. Also, it's very, you know, any information about people who are on this list, I mean, obviously does have to, as Manijay suggested, stay within you know, private. I mean, whatever reasons people have for not paying something, if that's what happened, should be kept private. I just wanted to make that comment in addition to what you said.
Bernard had his hand up before.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Bernard, I don't know whether this is a normal practice, but in the future, if you could you attach to your narrative whatever documents you use to arrive at your conclusions. I'd like to see the information. I'd like to see what you use.
The MEMSIS reports should be available to everybody on this committee, and the treasurer will need to make them available. Yeah, that's what I use. I use the MEMSIS reports.
Can we? Does that mean we will have them? Just point of information. Does that mean they'll be made available?
Yes.
So that's a commitment that they'll be made available.
Yes, they're always made available. Yeah.
Just to comment on the feasibility of people doing the phone calls from home. Many of you, I know I have often, get phone calls from organizations that ask you to renew your pledge or renew your donation. They have your name, they have your address, they have your information of how much you pledged, they know who you are. It's pretty clear that they are who they are. And most people, and I know I don't after that, don't question whether they are that verified company. So there are certainly blocks you can throw up in giving out those names, but it should be up to the person who's called to decide that he or she doesn't feel comfortable giving a credit card, and the phone call will end in a very polite way. But if a person calls, identifies him or herself as a member of the WBAI board of directors, and has their name and their pledge and all the information, and asks them to honor their pledge by sending a check into the station, because only 10% probably on the first time will even volunteer credit card information, there's not going to be a problem. So if we want to not do this, we can come up with many reasons, but there are no really good reasons for not doing it.
I have Nia and Bob and John.
Now, I heard part of the motion. I was talking to my daughter, so I didn't hear the whole thing. But you're asking for people, for local station board members, you're mandating that we go in and volunteer?
I'll read it again with Russell's correct amendment.
And then I'd like to ask my question.
It said, the LSB resolves that each member of the board shall volunteer to make phone calls to listeners who have not fulfilled their pledges at least 2 hours per month under the direction of the station manager, and will report on their effort to the LSB public listserv in an attempt to assess the success of this project and to hopefully motivate others to do the same.
Okay. So is this for all 24 of us? Because there are 2 board members who are banned from doing this. So will we, how is that going to work? They're banned from the station.
That's not my call. My call is this is to make a resolution of the board, and how management chooses to proceed with that.
Okay.
We'll burn that bridge when we get to it.
Okay. Last year when I asked you specifically about Russell, your exact words that you would take care of that. And to this day, it still has not been taken care of. That was, yes, you did. I know that. So you're saying, so as the chair, right? So I'm looking to you to speak with management as you do on other occasions about other things, to speak to management to ask them to please lift the ban so these two board members could do exactly what you're asking us to do.
Bob?
All right,
Are you
well,
going to do that? Are you going to do that?
You're asking a point of information?
I asked you.
I said that's management's call to do what they want. It's up to the board to decide if they want to write a letter to management about that. We could make that a motion if you want. Bob, but we have if you want to make an amendment, that you could do that too.
I would like to move that the ban be lifted for board members Bernard White and Russell Elliott Dale, so that they may enter the premises in order to fulfill their fiduciary responsibilities. I'm not going to just pigeonhole them. They enter the building. That's it.
Okay.
Point of order?
Yes.
The way it's phrased is that the LSB do this. The LSB can't do this.
The LSB write a letter or notify management.
He said LSB writes a letter. That's exactly what he said, and that's what I said. I will make it a motion.
Management. Okay. That's an amendment.
And I would like a roll call vote on that.
Right, but we're getting to discussion first. People haven't spoken yet. John was on the list, and Ray spoke already.
Bob is next.
So
I was next.
I said Bob was next.
all right. Okay. Well, the reason I support this amendment is that, I mean, aside from just the overall, right, the overall utter lack of due process in the first place in banning these individuals and everyone else who's currently banned, there's a really fundamental contradiction here in the idea that you would have a motion.
It's on. You have to hold it.
Yeah, it's on. I'll hold it as close as I can. There's an overall, a fundamental contradiction between the concept of urging board members to be responsible and pitch in and help raise money for the station, but doing nothing to lift a finger to reverse a situation where two board members are absolutely forbidden to do things, and not just fundraising. I mean, there's all kinds of other things that board members and other people can do, help answer phones. There's a lot of things that can help the station.
I know.
So that really needs to be remedied right away, number one. Now, on the motion itself, the underlying motion,
We're just letting you know the time is out for this section, but for this item on the agenda, but continue with your thing.
All right. I am very troubled by the wording of this motion because it implies...
Can I move to extend the discussion?
No, Bob has the floor, so after Bob finishes.
Okay. It implies, first of all, that that everyone has the equal capacity to donate their time in the way that the motion suggests, 2 hours a month. Now, I certainly support that would be a wonderful thing. Those people who are able to donate 2 hours, absolutely, the station needs help and they should do that. But there's people who, for all kinds of reasons, whether they be health, disability, family obligations, or for those of us who are unpaid staff who already put in many, many more hours than 2 hours a month in other responsibilities that also include helping to raise money for the station, it's just not, I mean, I'll just speak for myself, it's just not feasible for me to add to that commitment an additional 2 hours. Now, I recognize that the language is not formally that they must do it or else, but the implication of the way it's worded is, well, we're going to put it on the public listserv, and then we're going to kind of look at it and see who's doing it and who's not. And I object to that, and I think this needs to be thought about more carefully before we pass a motion that's basically preparing to lay a guilt trip on those that don't ante up to the degree that, you know, that to the degree that is mandated in this motion.
Okay. First, there are a number of people who want to speak. I have on the list John, Menage, Alex, Steve, and Carolyn. But Russell has a motion to extend time.
Motion to extend by 10 minutes?
I have a point of information.
Yeah.
When does the meeting end?
Whatever 45 minutes is after the, 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, okay. And we have half an hour for GM report?
Yeah.
We need to hear from a treasurer's report and a GM report.
Okay, all right, thanks.
So Russell had the floor. We want to extend for 10 minutes. Is there objection to extending for 10 minutes?
Yes.
Motion to extend for 5 minutes?
Well, all 5 minutes? Is there it's an amendment to his motion? Well, you make it. Let's just take a vote. All in favor of extending for 10 minutes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's 9, so it doesn't pass. All for 5 minutes. Anybody? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
4, 5 minutes?
Yeah.
At my place.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All opposed? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that does not pass either. So that doesn't. We're going to a vote right now. So to go to the.
I move to table or to postpone
Okay.
the next meeting.
Okay. There's a move to table. It's non-debatable. I guess maybe you mean to postpone to the next meeting.
Table. We're moving to table. Pay to vote. Let's vote.
Well, the chair can interpret it, help the person do it right. All in favor? Is there any objection? Any objection to tabling till next meeting, to postponing till next meeting?
Table. He said table.
Doesn't matter what he said. We know what he means. The chair can help members, according to Robert's rules, correctly phrase what they're trying to say. Yes.
Actually, I think I did mean table.
Okay. All in favor of tabling this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All opposed to tabling. Okay, so that's motion is tabled. So, the next item on the agenda is the GM's report. Where's Berthold? I thought I saw him somewhere. Ah. Yeah, it's Heidi. Well, I thank Berthold and every other member of the board for coming to this meeting.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, I'll just start by going to the financials. That's it. We have raised so far $240,000 in the fund drive today. Before I left, we were at 52,000. We were at 52,000 today. We haven't reached that number in a long time.
In one day?
Yeah. Well, we had the Zeitgeist premium this morning, and we had
LaRouche-eyed crap.
And we had. I would appreciate if you do not interrupt me rudely.
We have our general.
All right, everybody, now let's give him that would come up in the discussion.
Yeah.
And I'm sure several other things.
So we had Zeitgeist. We had the WikiLeaks on the stick drive by the computer folks. And also we are presenting George Galloway, who is going to be having a fundraising on March the 15th at Ethical Culture. Within an hour and a half, we sold 300 tickets, so we had to stop it. The tickets were being offered too cheap. It was a special during New Hamilton, and then they just jumped on it. The last, unbelievable. The last 3 drives, our fulfillment is already at 74%. I mean, if you're familiar with fund drives, you know, that's, we have not even sent the 4th follow-up letter on our first drive of this fiscal year. So, I mean, we expect this fulfillment to rise. You know, I expect it to rise to 80%, but we'll see. Fiscal year 2010, Mitch already mentioned that we increased fulfillment rate to 70.5% by hard work, and so that was equal to about $120,000. We were mailing the tax papers. We were a little behind. It's because we were trying to save $11,000 in printing things, so we figured out how to merge the documents and import the information. So we are mailing the tax papers, and then we just saved $11,000. Mitch also mentioned that. Oh, the mailing, 2 bulk mailing from October the 27th, 2010, when we started that. As of today, we have saved $2,200, 65 cents on any piece of mailing. Unfortunately, it's a very small size of mailing. If if we were able to mail everything, it would make a fortune. Unpaid pledges. I've been able to eventually sort and print those reports through a lot of pressure from Carolyn Burden, board member, to organize them by credit card, unfulfilled, versus bill me, send me a check, I send you a check, non-fulfilled, and then we have sorted them also by fund drive. So we have the printout of all those people who have not paid credit card or by check for the past 3 fund drives separately, and it shows the premium, it shows everything. So we could have 200 people making phone calls. We can give them 3 sheets of papers each, and that would be efficient. As opposed to in the past, people were always asking me to help them look into MEMSIS for the information. So now, we can really, run through this. And to that process, these past 5 days, we have averaged about $600 a day collecting pledge drive. Basically, what we do is I personally put them into the Great Plains system, and we process the bill, and then we see right there that the money goes to. In the past, we used to call those people and put the money into the information back to MEMSIS, and MEMSIS somehow, since it billed before, it has a problem where it blocks you from billing again. So we go straight to the billing system, and that has been working a lot, very well. Events, mentioned George Galloway. We sold 300 tickets today in an hour and a half. So we're going to upgrade the price of those tickets. We were giving those tickets for $20 for one, $35 for a pair of tickets, and $75 for those who want to go and hang out with him after the presentation. We're going to have a press release also at that event, and I cannot say any more. You should come and buy your tickets, and then you will enjoy this event, I'm pretty sure. Programming, you all love the programming changes. There were motion on this board about programming events. It turns out that the programming changes are working well. With all these issues and commotion going on, when we look carefully at the programming changes, nothing changed. There are four shows that are no longer in there, but every single other show is there. They've been moved around, and they've been moved around strategically, where we're able to add Al Jazeera from 5 to 6 in the morning, music from 10 to 12 to give people a break, Gary Knoll from 12 to 1, and the 5 o'clock shadow to add some more public affairs. And the health shows we used to have at noon, we put them at 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night for only half an hour, which is, we're still working it out. Obviously, this is work in motion. As we see this, we are going to keep on working the schedule. We've had a program council meeting schedule. Very little people showed up, but we are going to keep on going.
Was it at the station?
At the station.
I'm not allowed to go, so.
Okay.
You're not allowed to go anyways. You're not a producer.
We also produce a newsletter. I hope the board received the newsletter. Just mailed out the February one. Was a little behind because we were making some corrections. which tells you what's going on at the station, and we're trying to connect to all members and get them feel like part of this family. We have connected to certain groups. Kavikano is minority group of artists, poets, who go to this place and then they get, to practice, and then actually, eventually, some of them have won some awards, and we are going to probably have them on the air during the art show, some art show, to read their poetry, once in a while and so on. And there was another book I forgot that we connected to. That's about it. For programming, we, the general manager, public affairs director, and myself, we've been working really hard on putting the schedules together. We still, we're not putting them as early as we want, but since we've learned through this process, the process should continue to improve. We have, just like we have our schedule printed by, cells and so forth, we have for each week of our fund drive, every shows that, that is pitching for whatever is that time frame, and sometimes we even have the premium in the prices. Going forward, we'll keep on doing that, and hopefully, we have this from week 1 to week 4. Through a lot of pain, sweat, and tears, right, Kathy? I have here also basically some of the fulfillment rate that, like the fulfillment rate that we have. I don't have all of them. I don't think I printed enough, but you can share them 2 to 1, if there's enough.
So what date was this?
That was as of the 21st. No, February, about 2 days ago. I mean, obviously I didn't go through the whole thing. I just went to the last 3 drives. This is what the schedule looks like. And this is, for example, what the first week.
Will you take questions, Bertolt?
Yeah, I'm open to questions. Okay. There are so many things going on. We're excited. The mood at the station is very festive. There's a lot of volunteers. We also have this internship program where we looking for interns. We have an intern from Wisconsin. She's working in Tony's office. She's extremely efficient. She's putting the whole George Galloway thing together, answering the phone in the pledge room, doing cards about the fund drive and George Galloway and so on. Kathy also has an intern for a whole semester or 2?
1 or 2 semesters.
1 or 2 semesters. This morning she came at 6:30 to answer the phone for Wake Up Call. We're losing money at Wake Up Call because there are not enough volunteers there. Kathy also managed to get a volunteer coordinator who's trying to put this together again. For the internship program, Jose Santiago and I, we went to York College, and we had this connection with them. Unfortunately, the need for very capable interns is so great that we're only able to get 1 so far. It's at the York College School of Journalism that Jose Santiago helped them build. So I think now it's one of the top 7 journalism schools in the nation. But we have this connection and the descriptions of the internship. Tony, posted an internship request on the website, webpage of volunteer, and then we get a lot of people. I have an intern right now who just started with me 2 days ago from Baruch College, and she's going to be doing tweeting, Facebook, I can't remember those things. She's also going to be collecting the name of all newspaper and printed media and so on that accept free advertising and with deadlines so that we can see if we can advertise in those places. She's also responsible to get a list of all high school and colleges throughout the New York metropolitan area to put them in a format so that we can just do mass mailing to them. For example, for the Martin Luther King birthday fund drive. It would have been nice if we could tell those people what we have so that they could buy those premium for their schools. She's doing other things. She's busy. Okay.
Russell.
I just want to point out that a couple of months ago we stopped using Cass Ingram to raise funds, which is a good thing because he's a rabid homophobe and many other things beside. And Tony Bates explicitly told us that in one of these meetings. I want to point out that the film Zeitgeist is probably produced by LaRoucheites and certainly contains quotations from Lyndon LaRouche, a rabid anti-Semite, not an anti-Zionist, an anti-Semite. It also contains quotes from Webster Tarpley, who for many years was Lyndon LaRouche's right-hand man, and as well as it shows in a glorified way David Icke, an anti-Semite from England. I really don't think it's appropriate for WBAI to be using this kind of real crap to raise funds in any way. It's very bad to put in front of the public, and it's very dangerous stuff. And it also funds a movement called the Zeitgeist movement, which is probably a front group for LaRoucheites, okay, given what's going on in these films. And you should probably watch the film if you're not familiar with this. LaRouche has worked directly and openly with the Klan, okay, for many years, and that you really need to think about having this kind of stuff on WBAI.
Wait, I have a list here. I have John, Jamie, Alex, and Kathy.
I'll have Kathy answer on my behalf. That was a question to management.
Oh, you're answering them.
Yeah, she's answering for me.
Because I would pile on to that as well.
Okay, I didn't know I was answering for you, but I will. I think that the Zeitgeist films are incredibly interesting. They have a certain perspective, but the diatribe I just heard was certainly didn't have any real evidence or facts, or it was just simply from my perspective.
Russell, you're out of order.
It is.
You talk when.
It's making a characterization of a film that has a very broad spectrum. It's a very popular film, and it raises money for the station. And we respect our listeners to be able to listen to something and decide if it's something that they want to participate in, listen to, and pledge for. And ultimately, from the perspective of the business of running the station, we have to raise enough funds to maintain our rents, pay our debts, and prevent the station from going off the air. To me, that's the highest priority. And unless I viewed each of those films and I didn't see anything in it that was anti-Semitic, you may make characterizations about the people, but the films themselves are not anti-Semitic.
Okay, John, I have there's a list. The list is now John, Jamie, Alex, Kathy, Bob, and manager.
Yeah, could you just update me on the status? I understand previously there was something being done about moving out of Wall Street. Could you just briefly update on where that stands? Secondly, are there any other plans for any other kind of fundraising activities other than going to our listener on-air fundraising? Could you just kind of outline if there's anything else being done? And lastly, how do you evaluate the impact of the changes, particularly the long-standing programs that have been moved to out hours or aren't there anymore? How do you evaluate the impact of that? Are you getting any negative feedback or anything from the listeners?
Yeah, what was your name?
John.
John.
The move, any other fundraising, and how do you evaluate the impact of changes like with Gary Bird and other program, long-term programmers that would move completely out of their time slot.
Okay.
And some weren't.
Okay. That's an excellent set of questions. The move. We have a real estate broker that has been contracted by our lawyer during the previous management, and that I'm dealing with. We have an exclusive contract with them until at least May, and we're dealing with them. I have visited a lot of real estate locations, including around Amy, where Amy Goodman is on 23rd Street on the west side. Yeah, I visited like 2 or 3 locations. I think I went once with Kathy. We visited around the Wall Street area where they have certain programs. You know, we're looking at state and government funded building, or at least sometimes even the government does not own a commercial building, but they may own 2 floors in the building or 2 or 3 floors in the building. So we're looking at all of this. The bottom line here is that, you know, ideally, $9 to $12 million would be perfect. A building in New York City right now, 13,000 square feet, is gonna go for about $6 million. $6 million, even if you go into the federal government at 70%, we're gonna have a mortgage of $25,000, which would be for 30-year mortgage at 5.5% government loan. You would be paying $25,000, which is much better than the $38,000 or $40,000 we're paying right now. However, that means we would have to put a $2,000 down payment. $2 million. $2 million. That would be nice. I'll take it. I'll do it now. $2 million down payment. $2 million down payment. So as I'm going to these affairs with these brokers, and I'm, you know, conferencing with National, you know, the bottom line here is that if they were to take the offer of what we really want to do, we would have to come up with $2 million. Even if we come up with $1 million, and the national office would come up with $1 million to put down as at least as a holder going towards closing the deal. Then there's the idea that once we start building and then we close the deal, there's going to be an overlap between paying 2 rents for at least 6 months. So we're going to have to be very careful. I mean, we are analyzing all of those things and a building plan, and so you have to have $35,000 times 6 months. Let's say 5 months. Let's be very idealistic, and you know, 5 months. You know, that would be 1.7 million.
Times
35,000 times 10 is
250,000. It's about
250,000.
So 175.
175,000. So we would need to do that to make provisions for that, and then also the building the stuff. It doesn't make any sense for us to move and not throw away the equipment we have. It's falling apart, right? Operational director, Sean.
Admit it.
It needs some assistance.
It needs. So that's, you know, this is where we're going. So we've gotten a few grants lately, but the $10,000 grant here. We might be applying for a CPB grant. I don't want to talk about the amount or anything like that. We're applying for a few of these things. The truth is, I'm so busy running this organization operationally. I'm all over the place. I don't have time. I don't have the time that would be necessary to dedicate towards building up a building fund or something like that. I need a development director. I need $70,000 or something like that to be able to afford a decent development director. Now my development director is Rebecca Miles, who is in the news department and who donates some time here and there, and then helps us get a few grants here and there, or helps us get some connection. We need. I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to ask the national office, and I'm going to the national board, that we dedicate some money to pay someone at least for 2 days full to work towards this. It will never happen if I have to do all that I'm doing and do this. That's a fact. We've been doing a lot of fundraising events. We've had the Making Waves event that did not make a lot of money. I think we made like $5,000 net, but we've had other events like the health.
Dr.
Majid Ali and Kathy is planning a few more. The George Galloway event should be full house. We should have had higher ticket price. We have other tickets. I'm planning some tickets. I'm from Haiti, and I would love to have a symposium on Haiti. Do not know when. I think that would bring in some people also.
We have the auction site.
We have the auction site. We have an auction site on the website, which has put us in contact with some major donor who are going to bet on the option. Will bet on the option, but yet they would also meet with us and donate. Yeah. So we have all these things going on.
Bertolo,
but it's kind of it's happening to hard work, but it's haphazard because we don't have one central person as a development director where everything comes to. So it's a lot of, running around. As far as the change in programming, it's delightfully paying off. We have a lot of people calling and telling us that they are listening to BI now, not because they're just listening as to be faithful to us, but they're actually listening and enjoying the shows. The way it's been set up, it seems to be working out, but obviously we'll always have to change and tweak and look. We have a program that we implemented from 6:30 to 7 during the Egypt thing. Every day from 6:30 to 7, Monday to Friday, we have an Egypt special where we interview scholars. Robert Knight is hosting that. Through the fund drive, we have some things, some of his shows. So, we are allowing him to do a 30-minute special on Egypt and Tahrir does the Fridays, and then the web traffic has doubled since then. We are certain that more people are listening because the fund drive is a lot more successful. We averaging. I don't know. Some days we make 45, 50,000.
Was about the programs that were doing good stuff in other areas, but the programs that were dislocated to or that were eliminated. Have you gotten any feedback, or do you have any way of assessing that impact?
Yeah, well, I had some small waves of email at the time because I told people, if you have an issue, advocate and send emails. So I collected those emails and collected them. As far as people who had issues with programs, one of the major issues was with Gary Null. Then there was also the idea of moving Dr. Majid Ali at night. We're trying to still address that. Gary Bird actually is probably doing well where it's at. From 5 to 7 on Saturdays. So basically what we did is we moved all the music shows to Friday night from 7 to midnight, Saturdays and Sundays. So we have a block of music where people can listen to music going on. The changes, it seems like, have worked. For example, Simon locally in the morning raised about $3,500 to small pledges. A lot of people pledge, and usually doesn't do that well. Bill Weinberg, More Short Up Radio Crusade, raised $3,000, $1,000. That's like huge. For example, certain shows like Asia Pacifica Forum and Tahrir, we're building their audience, and I've offered to any group that if they want to send a mailing to their audience, I would run a report to get those addresses, and they'll give me the letter. I will send it to the audience, letting them know what's going on. And then we are doing a lot of forward promotion lately at the station. We are kind of almost enforcing the forward promotion and backward promotion. And also, we are addressing traffic, where we are trying to transition the smooth transition of from one show to another. And that's what people have been telling us, that the sound of the station has improved. And at the end, if you want to address that a bit.
There was, yeah, we had a whole list of people, so maybe we could run through them quickly. It was, Jamie was next.
I don't have a mic.
Can you have a mic?
Hi. Yes, Bertold, thank you very much for coming here this evening. I know you've had a long day. Let's see, a couple of things to say. First of all, I thank you very much for taking on the initiative of addressing our programming grid. It's long been my opinion that the grid has been neglected for a long, long time. It's been clear since as long as I've been in this governance game that BAI has not had the listenership that it needs to meet its obligations. If we're going to have a large signal in New York City, we have to bring in more money than has been our custom. And I think, you know, the first thing is to build programming that attracts enough listeners to make our station work. So I very much thank you for taking on the difficult steps of starting to deal with that. I know it's not easy with all the different things you have to think of. Along those lines, I'd like to just point out that it's essential that the programming decisions that get made well. So I do hope that you and your staff is, you know, doing the best job that you can. Deciding which show to put on is a big deal. So I hope that's being done well. That's an important task. And another thing to think of when in your free time is it would be good to we definitely need more new voices on WBAI. You know, we need to find the next Amy Goodman or the next person of that caliber that's out there. Pacifica has kind of, you know, let's be frank, it's aged with a certain cohort of programmers and listeners, and we have to move beyond that. And I have to say, I do agree with Russell's point that it's difficult for me as a board member to know that the station is forced to advertise these things on the air that are objectionable. I know this is not your idea. You know, the station has done this for many years as well. This is a complement to the fact that we don't have